Stop praying. I know exactly how that sounds. If you are a person of faith, a spiritual seeker, or even just someone who occasionally throws a desperate, silent wish up to the universe when the weight of the world becomes too heavy to bear, telling you to stop praying sounds like the worst, most cynical advice imaginable. It sounds like an invitation to surrender to hopelessness. But I mean it with every fiber of sincerity I possess. If you are continuing to engage in a few specific, deeply ingrained habits, your prayers are not just bouncing off the ceiling, they are actively keeping you stuck. We have fundamentally misunderstood the nature of prayer, turning it into a transactional mechanism rather than a transformational space. We treat the divine like a cosmic vending machine. We insert our tears, our good behavior, our quiet desperation, and we expect God or the universe to dispense the exact outcome we want, exactly when we want it. We want the new job, the healed relationship, the sudden financial breakthrough, the instantaneous peace of mind. And when the machine fails to dispense the candy, we kick it. We grow bitter. We look up at the sky and scream about why we are being ignored, abandoned, or punished. But what if the problem is not that the universe is ignoring you? What if the problem is that you are asking for rain, but you absolutely refuse to build a bucket? The first and most urgent reason you must stop praying is if you are using your prayers as a substitute for action. This is a trap of passivity that ensnares millions of well-meaning people. Have you ever found yourself praying fervently for a completely different life, while stubbornly clinging to your exact same habits? We pray for a healthier body, yet we refuse to change our relationship with the food we eat or the movement our bodies crave. We pray for financial freedom and abundance, but we will not even look at our bank statements because the reality of our spending gives us too much anxiety. We pray for a healthy, loving, and stable relationship, yet we continue to text a toxic ex in the middle of the night because we are terrified of sitting alone with our own loneliness. There is an old, profound story about a man trapped in a catastrophic flood. As the water rises to his front porch, a neighbor paddles by in a canoe and offers him a lifeline, but the man refuses, claiming he is praying to God and waiting for a divine rescue. The water rises to the second floor and a police motorboat arrives. Again, the man waves them away, insisting his faith alone will save him. Finally, he is stranded on his roof, the water at his chin, when a helicopter drops a ladder. He turns it away, steadfast in his demand for a miraculous intervention. The man drowns. When he arrives in the afterlife, he is furious and heartbroken, demanding to know why his creator abandoned him. The divine response is simple and crushing. I sent you a canoe, a motorboat, and a helicopter. What more did you want? How many canoes have you ignored this year? How many helicopters have you waved away because they did not look like the glittering, magical miracle you had pictured in your head? Prayer is not a magic spell that exempts you from the grueling, beautiful work of living. It is not a tool to bypass human responsibility. You cannot pray for God to move a mountain if you are entirely unwilling to pick up a shovel and start digging. The universe operates on the principle of co-creation. It will not do for you what it is desperately trying to do through you. When you pray for a breakthrough but refuse to break your own toxic patterns, you are locked in a state of spiritual stagnation. You are asking for a new house while refusing to move out of the burning building you are currently standing in. If your faith does not compel you to take terrifying, uncomfortable, necessary action in your waking life, then it is not faith at all. It is simply a wish, wrapped in a blanket of spiritual procrastination. The second reason you must stop praying is if your hands are clenched into fists. You simply cannot receive anything new if your hands are completely full of old pain. Think for a moment about the person who has hurt you the most in this life. The one who betrayed your trust, lied to you, abandoned you when you were at your most vulnerable, or failed to protect you when it was their only job to do so. You know exactly who I am talking about. The moment I mentioned it, their face materialized in your mind, accompanied by that familiar, heavy sinking feeling in your chest. Now think about the nature of your prayers. You pray for peace. You pray for a light heart. You pray for joy and forward momentum. But the very moment you finish whispering those prayers, You go right back to replaying that agonizing betrayal in your head. You hold onto that anger, that blistering resentment, like it is a protective shield, convincing yourself that if you stay angry, you can never be hurt again. Here is the brutal, agonizing truth about resentment. Holding a grudge is exactly like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. When you pray for incredible blessings while actively harboring deep, venomous hatred, it is like trying to pour fresh, crystal-clear spring water into a glass that is already filled to the brim with toxic sludge. It does not matter how pure the water is. The second it hits the glass, it becomes entirely contaminated. I am not suggesting for a second that what they did to you was acceptable. I'm not saying you need to invite them back into your life or sit across from them at a coffee shop and pretend the trauma did not fundamentally alter the trajectory of your life. Forgiveness is not amnesia. Forgiveness is not letting them off the hook or validating their cruelty. Forgiveness is the radical act of taking the knife out of your own chest. If you are holding onto bitter hatred towards someone, you must stop praying for peace, because your prayer is in direct contradiction with your reality. You have to willingly put the knife down first. You have to look up at the expanse of the sky and admit that you are angry, you are profoundly hurt, but you simply refuse to carry this immense weight for another mile. That surrender is the only prayer that will ever truly work. The third reason you need to stop praying is perhaps the most common of all. You need to stop praying if you are lying. We are so utterly terrified of being honest with the divine. We put on our Sunday best, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. We construct elaborate, polite sentences. We use big spiritual buzzwords. We say things like, "I'm so grateful for all my trials. Please grant me the serenity to accept this beautiful journey." Meanwhile, on the inside, you're screaming. On the inside, you are utterly exhausted, fractured, and depleted. On the inside, you are thinking that you cannot take one more single day of this relentless struggle. Why are you lying to the entity that knows the very architecture of your heart better than you do? Do you honestly believe that God is offended by your raw, unfiltered human emotions? Do you think the creator of the universe, the architect of supernovas, black holes, and the boundless cosmos, cannot handle the reality of your bad day? Stop praying polite, plastic, performative prayers. Stop treating the divine like a fragile dignitary that needs to be appeased with false platitudes. If you are angry at God, say it out loud. If you feel abandoned in the dark, say it. If you are terrified that you are going to fail, lose everything you have worked for, and be humiliated, say it. The most powerful, earth-shattering prayers in human history were not recited from the gilded pages of a beautifully bound book by someone sitting in perfect posture. They were screamed into a pillow at 3 in the morning. They were whispered through violent, breathless sobs on a cold bathroom floor. They were gasped out in moments of absolute, undeniable surrender. True spirituality requires a radical, terrifying level of authenticity. If you cannot bring your ugly, messy, broken, jealous, angry, terrified self to the altar, then you are not really showing up at all. You are just sending a polished public relations representative to pray on your behalf, and the universe does not respond to PR reps. It responds to you. Consider the people who have walked through unimaginable darkness and somehow emerged with a quiet, unshakable grace. There is a profound shift that happens when a person realizes that suffering is not always a punishment, but sometimes a crucible. We spend the vast majority of our lives begging for our circumstances to change. Make this person love me. Make this crushing debt disappear. Make this physical pain stop. Fix it, fix it, fix it. But what if the universe is not actively trying to change your circumstances? What if the universe is using your excruciating circumstances to change you? What if this immense hardship, this incredibly painful season of life you are trudging through right now, is the exact fire required to forge the version of you that is actually capable of holding the massive blessings you have been relentlessly asking for? You cannot ask for a warrior's victory without being willing to endure the battlefield. I do not know what specific burdens you are carrying right now. I know the world is incredibly heavy, chaotic, and often deeply unfair. I know you are tired down to your bones. I know there are nights where you stare blindly at the ceiling in the dark and wonder if anybody is actually listening up there, or if you are just shouting into an empty, echoing void. You are heard. You are seen. You are so deeply, intrinsically loved, but you have to stop praying for the easy way out. Stop praying for the mountain to be miraculously flattened, and start praying for stronger legs and wider lungs to climb it. Stop praying for the rescue canoe to appear, and start building a raft with the scattered wood you already have in your hands. Stop praying with clenched, white-knuckled fists, and finally let go of the people, the memories, and the past versions of yourself that were never meant to travel this far with you. And above all else, stop pretending you have it all together. You are allowed to be broken. It is a fundamental law of nature that the light enters us through the cracks. When you find yourself in the quiet tonight, do not ask for anything. Do not beg for a miraculous intervention. Just sit in the stillness, take a long, deep breath, and say that you are here, you are trying, and you are finally ready to do your part. That quiet acceptance, that beautiful, terrifying willingness to participate in your own rescue, is where the real miracle finally begins.